I can't think of a single person really who gets a tremendous amount of satisfaction and enjoyment out of doing precisely the same thing every single day. And yet, that's what a lot of firms are doing in terms of their content marketing efforts. So let's have a talk about how we can mix that up and make life more enjoyable for everybody. My name is Chris Hargraves. This is Digital Marketing Mastery, a series for lawyers who want to improve their digital marketing efforts. You can find me if you need me to help out with anything at knownlikedandtrusted.com.au, and we are going to have a talk about getting a more interesting content mix happening so far as your digital marketing efforts are concerned for your law firm. So, what do the vast majority of law firms do in terms of their content marketing? Now, a lot just do nothing, but for those who do something, by and large, we see that their content marketing is blog posts, and in particular, blog posts regarding new legislation or amendments or things like that. And that's okay for what it is, but it really shouldn't be the mainstay of your content marketing because it's really boring. And in particular, it's really boring for you to have to produce it, but it's also fairly boring for the people you're trying to inspire to take action that's favorable to you in terms of handing you money or delivering someone to you who will hand you money. That's kind of what it's all about. And at the end of the day, you want to keep their life a little bit interesting too, right? They might not have time every day to read a 2,000-word article. They might not have time to read a 500-word article. So what can we do to try and capture a greater amount of people's attention? And in terms of content marketing, at least, the answer is very simple. Produce different types of content. And these different types of content have different ultimate end goals and different purposes. And I'm not going to talk about that necessarily today, but just know that having a content mix is going to allow you to touch base with people in different ways more regularly. So what can we do? What are our content opportunities? Well, fairly self-evidently, they're always going to involve video or audio or written words or images. Those are really, until the virtual reality content marketing stuff comes into play, those are pretty much what we have to play with in terms of what we can deliver outwards to people. So where are we going to take that then? Well, what we are going to do is we are going to look at the core content. And I've spoken about this before, so there's no need to get caught up in it. Really, the biggest core content you can produce is going to be a longer form video, a long article, or a podcast of some kind. That might be an interview podcast, it might be a podcast where you just speak like I am here, or it might be something else entirely. But those are really your big cornerstone pieces of content. And frankly, most firms aren't doing video and podcasting at all. The vast majority are not doing those things. So there are some opportunities for you already. If you're in different spaces, I would say that some of those opportunities are rapidly diminishing. But for lawyers, enormous amounts of articles are produced. Very few podcasts and very few videos are produced comparatively from the legal industry right at the moment. So if you want to immediately capture a little bit more attention and offer another opportunity for your potential clients or referrers to engage with your content, then take up an alternative medium beyond just the written word, beyond that email newsletter that you keep sending out, beyond the physical newsletter if you send one of them out. Take up another medium. Why is video good? Video is good because it ticks off the trust factor. It's very fast to produce, and ultimately it's very useful for people in that respect. However, if you want to really have your voice and your engagement and your content in front of people for a longer basis or a longer period of time, then what you need to look at is podcasting, because people have a tendency to listen to podcasts during their commute. They have a tendency to be able and willing to listen to longer podcasts than they might ever do for a video. And so if you can find a way to take that video and to also turn it into a podcast, I think that's going to be good. If you have a way of just producing a longer form podcast, even if it's not video, I think that is good too. If you can't do the video component, do the audio component. Find that content mix. Of course, then you can use images. Take some quotes, put them on images, take some useful commentary, put them on images, add a bit of substance to it. If you're posting on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, then you have a lot of word limit to play with in terms of what you can offer in terms of commentary on the image that you are posting. Better than stock images is, of course, real life images of yourself. If you only have stock images because no one's prepared to be on photo, then so be it. But just be aware that that's less personal, of course. It's an image that could be anyone. No one really cares, and people like to connect with other people. So better use of imagery is to make sure you're using actual photos of yourself. Admittedly, I don't always do that personally because I don't have an opportunity to have someone taking very many photos of me, and I rarely do it myself because my kids are always somewhere in the mix of things. So really, rather than me waffling on, all I want to really encourage you to do is mix up your content types and use them in your mix throughout your sharing throughout the week. So if you're going to post one longer form piece of content, a bunch of micro content or smaller content throughout the week on social media channels or through email, find a way to interact with people who have different amounts of time to commit, different preferred mediums that they enjoy watching, and give yourself more visibility, because the more different content types you have and the more you're sharing them, the more visibility you're likely to get. YouTube is a whole avenue of visibility that many lawyers simply are not availing themselves of. Podcasting, it has its own search and directories where you will not be found if all you produce is articles, okay? These are more discoverability avenues as well as, of course, content production and interaction and relationship development tools. So do use these avenues as useful parts of your digital marketing. I know it seems like there might be a tech barrier to getting some of these things up and running. It's really not that hard. And if you need help, you know where to find me. That's all I had to say, and I'll see you next time.